everybody, it is time for Triple Play, and I am here today with Misty and with Natalie, and we have 3 projects for you today, all based on the Equilateral triangle ruler. And so we're pretty excited to show you. So first up is Natalie.
So my project today is fun. I used a panel, which I think is great because you can fussy cut and get all the little pieces that you like.
I love how you captured all the animals. It's so cute.
It's so perfect. It's a fun way because it doesn't look like a panel.
Right.
You know, so it's not like your typical, here's a panel in the middle with a border around it. And so that was kind of fun for me.
Really cute.
It's called Mountain Magic because, you know, totally reminds me of the mountains, and I use the Rocky Mountain panel. You guys can use whatever panel you want. There's so many options out there.
There are a lot of panels.
Just use the pieces that you want. The other thing I did is I used large and small sizes, so I was able to capture a lot of the panel and not have a lot of waste.
I love that.
So, you know, whatever pieces you like, it's totally up to you. The quilt is 46 by 58. And I quilted it with sticky buns, which is obviously like one of my favorite patterns. I think we
go back to it a lot.
Yeah, we do. Loops and swirls, like they're just pretty good standards.
So I think this is a great size because this is a great size like for a car quilt or a picnic quilt, and especially if you're using a traveling panel. I think that's awesome.
Works perfect.
It's a great one for just for people who have like hobbies that they're more of a novelty print rather than like your standard lines that you'd get from like Moda or Riley Blake. You know, this is a Riley Blake panel, but it's just more unique to whoever you're making the quilt for. To make my quilt, you'll need 2 fabric panels, and I've used the National Parks Rocky Mountain Pillow panel by Artisan Design Group for Riley Blake. You'll need 3/4 of a yard each of 5 different solid fabrics. Your backing is 3 yards of horizontal seams or 1 3/4 yards of a 108 wide. And the other tool that you'll need is the Missouri Star 8-inch Equilateral 60-degree triangle ruler. Yeah, so this one is fun. It's actually a pillow panel, which it's intended to just make into pillows.
Yeah.
But I thought that it had some really cool graphic designs, and I liked it.
Let's look at this.
So cool. So it has these 4 things, and you can see in the quilt there's different parts. So like this section here would be the front of the moose, and then there's another part where it's like these are his legs, and these are his antlers. Does that make sense?
Love it. Yeah.
So you take your triangle tool, and this is it's a great tool. It's our Equilateral 60-degree triangle.
Which, by the way, you can use any 60-degree triangle. They're going to be pretty much the same.
Yep. An equilateral just means all 3 sides are the same length. So you just set it wherever you want and fussy cut. So I used a combination of large and small triangles. Because I wanted to use more of the panel pieces, I thought it would be cool to put together sets of 4 that match the same size as my larger triangles. So the larger triangles are 8 inches, and the smaller triangles are 4 3/8.
Perfect. So how did you do it?
All right. So first thing I did is I pretty much just cut all the pieces out of the panel that I wanted.
Now, did you get it all out of one panel?
I used 2 panels because I wanted a lot more cute little animals.
It makes me want to look and find them on the quilt.
It's actually kind of a fun little I Spy because you can see like
you got the little bird up here and a little tiny deer.
I love it.
And so this guy shows up in this corner, but then I focused in on him on this tiny little triangle.
That is so cool.
So he became the little center point.
I love it.
It's really fun, and that was part of it because I can cut up here, and then down here I can turn it so then. Depending on how you put your little sets of 4 together, your triangles can be sideways where you can get like the triangle top is
the long part.
Sorry, it's horizontal, or you can have the triangle facing the opposite direction. Does that make sense?
Oh, and
so you can cut them out in different directions based on what part of the panel you want to get, and then arrange them in the little sets of 4.
Well, in some of these, I see you have the panel on the outside and an accent in the middle, and you have some the opposite way.
Yeah, like this one up here is all the accent with the one. That's what I was just noticing
then like this one and this one, the colors are all three different.
Right.
Well,
So
I'm pretty
it
sure this
gives
quilt
you
would
a
entertain
ton.
either one of us.
Yeah,
It
clearly.
just gives you a ton of creative possibilities. You really can
I
just do
love
whatever
that.
you want,
It's very
have
cool.
fun with it, and, you know, use whatever colors you want, use whatever combinations of colors. But
And I know lots of people, they see these panels and we like them. It's just like, what do we do with this? You know?
Yeah,
So this is
yeah.
awesome.
It's so great.
Very cool.
all right, so I think I'll go ahead and cut this guy out first. Now, because I'm using the 8-inch line, I'm going to line it up. So this line down the middle is great because you can see through and know like exactly how it's going to look, but you have to remember that you're going to be cutting it here.
On the 8.
On the
Yeah.
8. Okay.
So to
And
get
then
to do that,
it's nice that the seam allowance is in there so you know what parts.
you know what's going to show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So to do that, I just cut right out of the middle. And then what I'm going to do is turn it so that I can cut that last cut it's on the line up in here. And you wouldn't be able to cut in the middle of the tool, obviously. So I'm just going to turn it.
And you always want to be
needs to go
safe with
this
your
way.
cutting. Anytime
Yeah.
you get into a position where it's like feels weird, just rotate them.
Okay, so one of the things that worked really well, I can't do it on this setting, but if at home you can put your cutting mat at the end of a table, you can use both sides of that table.
can
And
move,
I did, one cut in the middle and then I walked to the side, so I didn't actually have to rotate it that much. So you can see where it's been cut. You're going to line up one of the cut sides with your 8-inch line.
Oh, that's a great trick.
So that is how you're going to make them all 8 inches.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, that is cool. I didn't know how you were going to do that.
Yeah, so now these are
would've
all
done
my
it much
8-inchers. And what I did, I pulled out the ones that I wanted large pieces first, and then I went back, because you're going to do the same thing up here. You're going to take this and say, I'm going to come down here and look at this little guy and line him up inside my 4 3/8 section. And again, I'm going to cut the two sides that I have available, and I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to use this flat edge. And this one is a little bit tricky because it's 4 3/8. You kind of just
It's just like a smidge under 4
what I would recommend is taking one of your other tools, so here, and we're going to put a little piece of tape where the 3/8 line is. That'll make it a lot easier when you're going through the whole thing and cutting a bunch. I kind of just eyeball it because I've made a bunch of cuts now.
Yeah, once you do a few, you get pretty used to it.
So then you've got all of your, I'm going to go straight across there. I didn't go quite far enough. But then you've got your little guys cut out, and you're going to do your whole panel, picking every part that you want, and set them into piles and get ready to go. Background is way easier to cut, so I'll show you that real quick. So you're going to cut a straight, what do we think? And because these are 8 inches, we'll only need 8 inches.
Yeah.
And you don't have to start with like super straight edges because you're going to cut everything with your triangle ruler anyways. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And cut that. And then...
And what's your cut for these little ones?
4 3/8.
Oh, 4 3/8, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you cut a strip that was that size. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So you can cut these folded, but I found that I actually got a few more if I unfolded it because...
Do you want me to press this?
Nah.
All right.
So, and when you're doing these, you can start with the 8 line up there. You just have to pick a place to start. And it doesn't really matter because they're all the same length.
Right.
They're equilateral.
All sides are the same.
That's right. That's right. So I'm going to cut this one. And
Want me to
I'm
cut
going to
that one?
turn... Oh, yeah, that would have been easier.
I'm a good
Sorry.
left-hander.
Yeah.
I flipped it real quick before you got there.
Perfect left-handed cut.
Yep. So
Yeah.
you just go along and cut these, and you can use it as long as you keep one side on the 8. They're going to be great. 8 is great.
That's your little
But really,
mantra.
whatever size you're cutting, Whoops. Went a little off there, but that's okay. So you'll do that with all your background pieces, and because it's such a freely creative thing, you don't have to cut all of your fabric before you start laying it out. You can you can cut enough to where you can get an idea of how many you want. But if you want more blue and less yellow, or maybe you want to add a green or a purple or whatever you want, you can just cut a few, see how it looks, and then cut a few more if you want them in different places.
So it leaves it like clearly open for
Totally.
whatever you want to create.
that.
Yeah.
And so much freedom.
And this way, you know, with whatever panel you're using, whatever colors you want to pull out, it's a great way to use college colors. It's a great way to use people's favorite colors, like whatever.
What is this color called?
I believe it's medium gray.
Oh, it has a purpley look to it. It's like Purple Mountain Majesty. I was
beautiful.
like, oh my.
Well, I took my color card and I lined it up to my panel and picked the ones that I thought were
that's a great
easiest.
idea.
And
It worked out great.
really, the next step is just learning to sew the triangles together. So we'll start with a little one because we've got to make a bunch of those to match our larger triangles.
Let's do it all 3 colors too.
Okay.
I think that'll be
cool. So Misty, if you'll just start by sewing these 2. I like to start with the section, the piece that I want in the middle.
Okay.
And if you're doing a bunch of colors, it doesn't matter, but you want to, the reason I start with the one in the middle is because I want them to face a certain way, and so if I'm worried about directionality, it's easiest to get that one settled.
Here, let me fold this up.
Treat the panel with care.
Right? So cute.
There's a lot of cutting left on that guy.
There really is.
There's that one.
All right. Now, I would just finger press this real quick and then add the other side.
Okay.
And what you want to do with this is line up the, actually, if you finger press it the other direction, hold on. If you finger press away, then you can line up the triangle on top of the other triangle right
when
here.
your points match.
And so then when these points match, you know that you're going to have a good, like your seam will be good and you've got it lined up the way you want it. So.
Excellent. All right.
And you can just kind of push that one way or the other to make sure you're lining it up right and it's not going to be off.
And I would have to like lay it out and make sure he's facing the right direction because I'm pretty ankly challenged, and so
There we go.
you know I'd have to. Oh, here, let me just give that a little
Sure, that'd be great.
There we go.
Oh, he's so cute.
And then this guy just goes right on the top. He's just a cute little lid.
And any side
And you
will
lay
work.
it right on top of the other pieces and see how it matches those points for your from your side.
It looks perfect.
And you go straight across.
Okay. There we go.
And that's the most complicated part of this whole quilt.
That's right. There we go.
So now,
This out of the way.
what you want to do then is just get all your triangles made, and we just put it together in rows. So, you know, I just did these 2 side seams, and this is a row, and then you add your next row. So it's very easy to put together.
Yeah.
Because you don't even have to worry about this whole, like what we did here, where we did 2 and then added 1 on top. You're not going to do that again.
Right.
So super easy assembly once you've got all your triangles made. And yes,
I just keep adding
exactly.
one, adding one. I want to see what it's
so
going to
cute.
look like.
So yeah, so you just lay it out and figure out where you want
I love
things.
it.
It's so
And that's
cute.
it.
How
And
many,
then-
how many rows?
Okay, so the one thing to remember, I did add full triangles on the side and then trimmed it straight. It's just way easier for me to do that rather than trying to figure out, that memeasurement.
I agree.
I'd rather just square it up at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I did that, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 by 1, 2,
That's right.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
it's just a little bit,
Because of the angles.
yeah.
It looks
So
awesome.
12 by
Looks
8.
great. I love it,
I
Nat.
love
And that's it. And I decided not to border it. You absolutely could put a border if you wanted to, but I just,
Would you have enough panel pieces left to kind of put that in the border?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
Because I pretty much cut out every little
part.
bit that I could get. And you'll see, I mean, I've got like just the little top of a tree here, and I don't even know what, but it's part of a mountain maybe with a little antler in it. Like, I kind of tried to get every inch that I could, and there's just not a lot of panel left after that.
It's super cool.
Turned out great.
All right,
Yeah.
well, it's time for me, I guess.
All right.
So this is my project right back here, and I really love it. I'm calling it Hexie Stacks because they just kind of build on one another. I made this completely round hexagon shape, and I put it in different places. I just made 3 of them, put them in different places. Now the size of this quilt was determined because in this roll, I only have this many light strips. And so I used the light in the middle and sewed together my strip sets like this, and I only got that many strips, so that's what I did them. So I had a bunch left over, and so I made 2 other projects that I'll show you as we get toward the end. To make my quilt, you're going to need 1 roll of 2.5-inch strips, and we have used Artisan Batiks Holiday Moments by Lunn Studios for Robert Kaufman. You're going to need 3/4 of a yard of accent fabric, and that includes the inner border. The outer border is 3/4 of a yard. For the backing, you'll need 3 1/4 yards of horizontal seams. You'll also need a Missouri Star 8-inch equilateral 60-degree triangle ruler. Interestingly, when you sew 3 2.5-inch strips together, they should measure 6.5. Should being the operative word.
Right.
When you are dealing with rolls like this, you know, I just go with the flow because that's what I do. I sew them together. I don't even actually measure them. But when they go to make the pattern, that matters. So because they have these peaked edges on them, different fabric companies measure different ways. If you're to lay a ruler across the top of this one, it is over 2.5 inches wide. That's because they have a large pinked edge, and they measure from the inside of the peak to the inside of the peak. And so if you measure inside here, it is 2.5. But I count the peak in my fabric, and so as I'm sewing them together, and I tend to have a little bit smaller 1/4-inch seam.
Yeah.
A little bit smaller because I sew with a foot that's a little bit smaller, and I don't ever measure it. I just sew along the edge. So mine ended up actually coming out about 7. If you're using a regular jelly roll, again, yours will be 6.5. But I just made it work with what I was doing.
And that's a great tip. Just measure what yours ends up, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then cut all your triangles to the same size.
Yeah. Yes, and I also like to cut on the line. I don't want to have to make a line that I don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's just like I just want to be like, okay, this is what we're doing. So anyway, I have this cool little thing right here, and I want to show you because this kit, it looks like it's a little bit of work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's really 3 strips sewn together, and we're just going to cut the triangles out, and we'll cut a few in a minute. But I want to show you where some of these are. So, here's our triangle right here. Here's a triangle right here.
And they're just going back and forth.
And they're just going back and forth. They just go around this way like this, and we set them up on there. And I just think it's fascinating how many different ways you can use these equilateral triangles. So I did try folding my strip in half and cutting 2 at a time. That's living dangerously. It's not always quite accurate. So I would suggest going ahead and opening yours up. Now I made sure that my tip was right at the top, my 7 was right at the bottom of the peak, and when you go ahead and cut these, make these cuts, you're going to get one where the green is at the tip, and we're going to flip our ruler, and so the next one, the red will be at the tip. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these, and this is a great time. If you want, you could use a rotating mat. We're pretty good at going back and forth like this, but don't ever cut dangerously. So then on this one, the edge is already there, so you're really only cutting one side. And so I'm going to line this up again. This line goes on the 7, and this line goes here. So out of one strip set, you're going to get 2 pieces that look like this. They actually look completely different.
The opposites.
I actually think it's kind of fascinating. So as I started putting these together, I matched my middles. And so this whole little target here has just all green in the middles. And so we're going to need 3 of those, and we're just going to keep adding these around. And you can switch out. So like mine, I didn't have enough of the same outside cover to keep all of mine together. I wanted it to go green, I wanted it to go red, and I wanted to keep those together, but I didn't have enough of each one. Now, just like Natalie did hers, when we go to sew these together, you match them up exactly, and you just lay them on there like that, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch right down the side. And I'm
So
just
when
gonna let
you did
do
this,
that.
you laid it all out first, though, right?
I did lay it all out
Okay.
first. So then that's because I'm very angly challenged, and so
I can imagine. It would be hard for me to just pick pieces up and get this right, I think.
and I actually sewed them together. Once I got them laid out, I sewed them together in rows like this.
Just like Nat.
And so we're going to go over here to the design wall, and I'm going to take you two girls with me who are not so angly challenged as I am, and we are going to lay some of these out. So I just wanted to show how easy it is, how nicely they match up. You didn't look for the seams to line up or anything.
No, not particularly.
She just sewed that seam,
Looks
and look
great.
how well it matches. You know, she didn't line them up. It's just 3 strips sewn together, and it just comes together, so it just looks great.
So did you just start sewing, or did you lay this all out first?
Oh no, I laid it all out
Okay,
first.
I was going to say, I would have to lay this out.
I am so angly challenged. I laid it all out first. So I've
Okay.
got a bunch here.
It's even tricky as you're sewing it together.
It
Because,
really
like,
is.
You could say, okay, these two all go this direction, but
Right.
once you get down here, you've got this last one that goes the opposite direction.
Right.
Right.
That was my thinking.
And
It's hard.
I'm like, how did you keep this right in your head?
And so you
Yeah.
can see that, you know, if we go here, you'll see we have this one that is sewn to this one, but then this one is set in here this way.
So those are
Right.
kind
So
of
it's
repeating.
all
So
the
once
same
you
block,
get-
just set in here differently.
Yeah.
So let me finish cutting these. And girls, if you want to start laying these out,
Okay.
make
right.
a little target and
All
then
right.
run off the side.
See where we get to.
And I'm going to finish
I'm gonna
cutting
start
these.
with these two that are sewn together.
So I have
Sure,
one.
yeah.
And do you have enough reds to complete this one?
I don't know. There's a
like
lot.
say-
There's.
I have a lot of green, but maybe we might be able to do this.
Let's do this.
All right. So here's 2 more. Now, also, you guys, while they're putting this together,
We have a couple.
this row right here, I literally sewed them together a row. So I did not, you know, I didn't
then
make
the
this
greens
whole
go
thing.
past
I
this,
sewed them
right?
together as a row.
Yeah.
So if you look over
Do you
here,
have another red out? Yeah.
outer
This
red,
one, an
There you
outer
go.
red.
And you'll notice on the reds, I didn't have enough to make a full circle of all the fabrics. And so there's different fabrics, but it gives it the red look. You know, it gives it that whole look of being red.
Once you have your circle together, then each one is just a round of 4.
Right, it's just a round
And it
of
goes
4.
whichever direction you're going.
Because see these two right here, how this is the bottom of my triangle and it lines up with the side. I literally would pick up 2 and sew them, and pick up 2 and sew them, because I get turned around really fast with these things. That's just my brain. I went along. I have a red, and then I have a green,
you got one more?
and a
Only
red,
these 3.
red. So it just works together really easily and really fun. Now, while we were talking about this earlier, Natalie had some fun ideas. She said it would be really fun to do this in solids
great.
or like ombres and go from light to dark, or do
This
a
one
rainbow
doesn't
color or
match,
something
but-
like that. Also, you can move these things wherever you want.
Blends right in.
You can also, that looks awesome, girls. You can also line this up so it forms an X. I mean, there's just so many ways you can lay this out, and it was just really fun. Now, again, because I had just a few of the whites, and there's so many more reds and greens in this roll, of course I wanted to keep making them, so I decided that I needed an accent color other than white to show you some things. And so I actually used this gold, and you'll notice on the edges of my rows here, I actually put a gold triangle here to finish off my row, to pop it, because I didn't have any more of this white. I used all my strips in my strip sets, and I did the same thing Natalie did. I started and ended with a triangle, and then just trimmed that off and added the border and popped it. So then
Can I say something
Yes,
really quick
yes,
about
please.
this? So this is a cool trick to know when you're working with these hexagon-shaped edges. If you use all the same fabrics, it'll create that border. And then if you want your top and bottom borders to match, you just measure this. So this is 3 inches,
that's right.
which means that this top and bottom border also needs to be 3 inches.
It's a great trick, yeah.
And
Yes.
that way you can have like this really cool frame that looks nice on the inside of your quilt, and then you can put whatever border you want outside of
Right,
that. But that gives
absolutely.
you that cool like the center of your quilt is floating a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Just a cool thing.
And since I had, this is actually how this happened, since
Yeah.
I had a bunch of these 3-inch strips cut, you know, for the top and the bottom, and I ended up like only using one with the fabric across here, I had several of these cuts, and so I'm like, well, I'm going to stick this in the middle of my strips. So I sewed a red strip on the outside and a green strip out here, and I did the same thing again and made these other quilts. So these are runners, and if you know me at all, you know, I mean, I have a lot of children, so I love runners because, you know, you can get a lot of runners, and I have a lot of children, and I like to give those.
It's a super great gift.
It's
we
a
love
great
it,
gift.
by the way.
Yeah,
Don't
absolutely.
Stop. I need all the runners for all my tables and all my holidays.
That's exactly right.
So this one right here, you can see we have a wider golden here, which means that our, you know, our little measurement is going to be a little bit different. And this is one full circle. So then your triangles are going to be a little bit different because you're using a bigger size, because we put this 3.5-inch strip in here and you'll cut them out, but it goes together exactly the same way. And so for these right here, we put 6 together. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had to check that to make sure. And then again, the 4 around the outside edge and 4 around the outside edge, and just made this great.
I love that you
runner.
get to keep the point on this. It's
Yes.
so great.
I like that too. And then I also like, it's kind of an odd shape, but having these run together into here, it makes like a totally different look.
Yeah.
It really does. And also, when you do these little corners, it's not like 45ing it or anything like that. I mean, I just, you know, made it work around the edges, and, you know, I don't worry about that. Now, this one is really fun because it's the same triangles, but again, it's a completely different layout.
Oh,
so look at that. Isn't that so fun? Completely different layout. And so again, let's look where the triangles are. So this time
you
the gold
changed
is
the
at
order.
the top.
Yes,
the gold
okay.
is at the top. And so here's this one, and then over here, here's this one, and here's this one, and we just kind of rotated them around, you know, so that they made this kind of whirligig looking thing.
Right.
And then
but
again,
then this kind
bordered
of
it.
looks like a chevron, and
Right.
then these ones are then opposite.
Yeah.
I love
to
that.
create this little
like a
all
little
of these,
finishing edge.
Each of these individually, you could make an entire quilt of that design.
Oh, absolutely.
And create like endless layouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Misty,
So cool.
in the last triple play that we did where we used this,
Yeah.
I think you did a quilt that had the whirligigs in it.
I did.
Oh,
Yes,
only wait,
that
was
was
it the
with
half
hexagon.
hexie? With
Yeah.
the hexagon.
But
okay.
this gives
And
you
it
that.
has some Y
Yeah.
themes
Yeah.
too,
It
remember?
did.
Oh,
Yeah, we
that's right.
decided
That's
to
right.
teach the Y
well, I
theme.
think this is
Yeah.
much easier.
It is easier, but it
is.
It was a good way to learn the Y
Yeah.
theme.
So anyway, it's just fun to see how these go together. It's a great way to play with design, and you know, you can do all kinds of different things with it. So, Misty, I guess you're up.
Absolutely. Yes, so I am really, really excited about this quilt. When I
beautiful.
saw we were going to be doing the 60-degree triangle, I knew it was the perfect time to try and recreate this antique quilt that we have. It lives at my mom and dad's, but it was made by my great-great-grandma Etta. And
Ooh,
so
it's so
I
Natalie's
brought it
beautiful.
to show
It's
you the
so
inspiration.
You get in front of this.
Okay. Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
Okay.
And we will hold this up.
Behind me. And so you can see her stars are much bigger, and it was all hand sewn and hand quilted, and there are quite a few
This
Y seams in here.
It's gorgeous.
Isn't it
though.
so
It's
beautiful?
so pretty.
I'm pretty sure this could
It's
live
an
at my
amazing-
house, Misty.
No.
Too.
It is, and so
It's gorgeous.
It's an absolute treasure, and I wanted to recreate it.
And great. Do you have any idea of the year?
I don't. I know I believe
great.
she died in 1956.
Oh, okay. So it's
So-
probably
30s, 40s.
Yeah.
or a little bit earlier. It
Yeah.
has that neon-y green in
20s
here.
maybe?
Yeah, could be. I am not sure. I would love to know.
Yeah.
For sure.
We could have
So-
a
I would love to know
That's
how to
awesome.
make quilts too.
I know.
I want that knowledge.
Yeah, me too. So let me show you how we do this. To make my quilt, you're going to need one package of 10-inch squares, and I used Love Always for Anna Maria Horner for Free Spirit Fabrics. You'll also need 1 yard of Bella Marigold accent fabric, 3/4 yards of Bella Peacoat accent fabric, 3 yards of background fabric, 1 1/4 yards for your border, and 5 1/4 yards with vertical seams for your backing. I started using layer cake squares, so to begin with, we are going to cut 3 1/4 inch strips out of our layer cake
So
squares.
can I also say this layer cake is gorgeous?
Isn't it beautiful?
It's a beautiful
love
line.
it. I love it.
She's so talented. This is Anna Maria
Anna Maria
Horner's,
Horner,
yeah.
yes, so gorgeous. All right, so 3 1/4, and we're going to cut 3 of those strips. So 1. Whoops, I got one little
There we
thread stuck.
The nice thing about 3 1/4 is you use that layer cake really efficiently.
Exactly.
That's
You don't
perfect.
have hardly any left over. 2. And make sure we're all straight. There we go. And that's all our
And do you
waste.
do that to all your layer cakes?
All your layer cakes.
Okay.
You're going to cut them all exactly the same way. And I did go ahead and stack them once I had my strips cut.
Because why not?
Because why not?
Yeah, if you don't have to worry about seams,
Then you
stack up your fabric and cut.
exactly. And so then we're going to use our template and we're going to cut 3 1/4 inch triangles, and you should be able to get 4 across. So we'll make 1 cut. There's that one. Okay. And then now we can just rotate and cut across. Just making sure we're on that 3 1/4 inch line. And
there actually isn't a 3 1/4 inch line on
Oh,
here.
there is.
It is. It's just
It's right here.
It's a tiny one, yeah. It's a tiny
so
one.
it's in between the big solid
So if it
lines.
bothers you at all, you could put a little piece of tape or draw a little
Yeah.
Sharpie line or something like that.
But there is the little mark on the edge
There
you
is the
can
little
check.
mark on the edge. That's right. I didn't see that when I started that comment.
That's okay. And, then
And how many do you
more.
get? 4?
4. Yeah,
awesome.
all the way across. So you don't have a whole lot of waste. That's all your waste there. Oops. And then we can just set that aside. And so now I like to keep, like I said, you're going to cut all your layer cake squares, but I like to keep them kind of together in sets so that all of my fabrics stay together. And then we're going to take half of these, so 6 of them, because you're going to have 12 triangles total. And we are going to put the little middles on them.
So each flower uses all of the pieces from
The
one
layer cake. Exactly.
Because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
12 to make your
That's
flower.
very cool.
Yep.
That is cool.
Exactly. So it makes it really easy as long as you keep those cuts together to manage all of your fabric, and then the magic really is in the layout. So initially I thought, before I cut these, I can just sew it to a strip and cut it. Well, like we learned from yours, you get the opposite.
It only works on one cut. It doesn't work when you flip the blade.
Exactly. And so I was like, that's not going to work for this because I just need my middles. I need them all to go the same way. So what I did is I picked this accent fabric. I went with this gold and I cut a 2-inch strip. And so what you're going to do, or what I ended up doing, what I found easiest, is I actually lined my 2-inch strip up on my big, long, straight side, but then I sewed it on this edge.
Oh, genius,
Strip
girl.
piece a whole bunch at the
I
same
did,
time.
so because remember you need 6 of each, and so I just put them through there and just sewed one after the other. So if we want to do a few of those, I thought we could show how that turns out.
Okay.
That's actually really genius, Misty.
I
I would
was-
have been like measuring it from the top, trying to figure out.
That's what I did at first. So once I finally figured this out, I was like, oh, this is so much easier.
Yeah,
So much
nice.
easier. There we go. Yep.
Okay.
And I just sew across, and you can kind of overlap them a
just-
little bit on the back
because
side.
you don't need you don't need all of that.
And if this is like confusing to you, I think it's 2-inch squares you can actually cut and just lay the square on each individual one. But for me, this was so much faster.
Yeah.
You're still going to have to do a lot of cutting, so making
You're going to cut either way.
One
you're
less
going to cut
step.
the square, or you're going to cut the strip
Exactly.
and cut it out. So that's actually really cool.
And I just keep sewing straight across,
Yep.
even though there's nothing to
That's
sew there,
exactly
because
how I
then
did it.
You don't have to raise and lower your presser foot.
yeah, and
Great idea.
I was pretty pleased with myself once I figured this out because it
This
was
is 6. This is the right number.
I
I
think
don't want to
so.
sew too many.
You've got 4, so you should
Okay.
have 2 more.
Yes,
Yep.
perfect. Just double checking.
It is interesting to me how many different ways there are to do.
I know.
All the things.
And as you're working on certain things, new ideas come and you figure out ways to make it quicker and easier.
Now, is it easier to cut them all out individually, or did you iron the strip up and cut them
So
all at
I
once?
had better luck coming through and trimming in between. And so I just, kind of slid my scissors in here.
And then did you iron them up?
And then you fold them up and
Oh,
press.
okay, let me press those
So-
up while you're cutting them.
Yep, that'd be perfect. Just make
right.
sure you don't cut off any of your tips there when you're cutting in between these. That would be a sad day.
I mean, then you just have to go do it again.
It's true. It's true.
All right. It does feel a little kind of weird just ironing this one little
I know.
thing up.
And then we can come back and use our ruler again and just trim off those tops. That's what I did. Because we want it to still finish up at that 3 1/4. So we're just going to keep trimming these. And 3 more.
Just making sure I got them all ironed.
I think so. Now, I do want to point out, when I picked the gold, I thought it would be really beautiful in the centers, which I am very happy with it. But if I did this again, I would probably pick a darker color for the center. And the reason is because on some of these prints, you can see them through the gold.
So then when
you just have to fold it back and trim them off.
These off?
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely. And so once I trimmed out my triangle, I just, use a straight edge and trim all those off. But if you used a darker fabric, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so that would save you that step.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this isn't a big deal.
It's not.
Well, I thought I had. How many do I have left now?
I only did
honestly,
one.
Not everything needs to be done at hyper speed.
It's true.
I tend to do a lot of really fast things.
Yeah.
But I enjoy a project that, you put a little time and effort
Yeah, and this
into.
is definitely one of those that is a labor of love. Mm-hmm. It is more time consuming. It's not hard. Mm-hmm. It's just going to take you a little more time, but it is totally doable. Okay, so then let's talk about how this lays out. Natalie actually helped me come up with the layout on this, which I'm so grateful for.
The design process is really fun. We go through a lot of ideas and a lot of different tries, like, well, what if we do this and what if we do that?
Yeah, when I first started laying this out, I had them just in individual triangles, and you can imagine all these little pieces. It was very overwhelming, and Nat suggested, well, what if you make these little units? And so let's show you how that comes together. I'll go ahead and lay out one of our stars here, so you can see all of our middles point towards one another, just like that. And then we can go in and add the points. If I can get them apart here. There's that one, and that one. Just like so. And so how I actually did it is I went ahead and sewed these sets of 5 together, just like they are here.
In a row?
In a row.
Like this?
Yep.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Then if you have those sections, you can lay your quilt out and still decide, I want my pink flower here, purple flower there.
And so I have some of these already sewn.
It's a lot less pieces to deal with.
Exactly. It's so much easier on the layout. I can't even begin to tell you. So you can see just how all of theirs went together in rows. You're going to sew these little segments in the exact same way. You don't have to worry about that. You just make all of these middle sections of your stars exactly the same. So it's really one of those things that kind of becomes rote as you're working through it.
Right. So you have some of those done.
I have some of those done. So let me show you the layout of that. So then you can see these segments just like so, and you can set them together.
And the yellow is kind of the guiding star, because you know
those are going to come together. Exactly.
It's going to make more sense to your brain. And then
exactly.
Here's these
that are the points.
the points.
Now the magic in getting these diamonds in between is we actually make units using our background and our other accent fabric in the exact same way. And so you can see we have 2 background triangles, 1 accent, and 2 background. And so we're going to have a stack of those ready to go, just like our flowers. And
it's the same size?
The exact same size.
Okay.
Yep.
And so what size is that again?
Well, each of our individual triangles is 3 1/4 inches.
3 1/4. Okay.
Yep. And so for these, you just cut, 3 1/4 inch strips and cut out a bunch of your triangles, and then we're going to assemble them like this. And then now for the layout, you can see this is going to go here, and then this drops in between, and on these pieces, we just have a background triangle in between them. So we have
each one of these is a row. So this is a row here, this is a row here.
Exactly.
But you are going to want to lay it out to make sure that everything lines up and matches, and that your pattern forms.
Exactly. Layout is the key. There's really no way around it on this one. Where did my little, there's the tip. There's that.
I'm hanging on to it.
That's okay. And then you can just see how quickly this starts coming together. And then we can put our next star in here.
That is so
and
cool.
these pieces just meet like that. And then once you have it all laid out, you can just start assembling. And you'll notice on the ends here, you might have some odd little, like, here's 2 backgrounds and an accent, and here we end with 2 backgrounds. But I did the same thing where I have a full triangle on either end, and I just cut everything straight. And so I just had, you know, the pattern tells you exactly how many of each one you need. It is a lot, and you just go through and you fill it in. But the body of the quilt, by doing this method, comes together so fast.
Now, on your grandma's quilt, those triangles are a lot bigger.
They are, yeah.
And is there a reason you didn't do them that size?
The only reason I didn't is because I was working with a layer cake. I think this would be an awesome fat quarter quilt. You could use bigger triangles out of your fat quarters, which is a great option.
And all those measurements come on this ruler.
Exactly.
So
you can pick
whatever
size you want.
Yeah, because all the triangles are the same size.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. It has so much meaning to me, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see it in other fabrics. I'm really excited.
It's very cool.
All kinds of different fabrics.
Awesome. I went ahead and put a little 1.5 inner border, and I believe this is a 5-inch outer border on that
And
as well.
this quilting is patterned. This is also one of my favorites.
Yes,
I love this bow
This bow dangle. I thought it was perfect for it.
Well, it's just so whimsical and fun with these little, you know, just the little cute little flowers.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, and
really,
the
really
backing
cute.
on this is so fun too. So we
Oh
better
my
show that
gosh,
nice
look
big
at those
print.
flowers.
Isn't that awesome? She does such a great job. So anyway, this is Grandma Etta's Stars.
It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
So anyway, that's it for our triple play today. We hope you enjoyed all these new fun ideas. We've got so many things going on. Don't forget that you can download our app and actually search Equilateral Triangle, and it will give you all the different ideas for this one template.
And many more to come.
Yeah.
And many more to come. And we hope you enjoyed this triple play from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you are not already part of the Missouri Star Quilt family, you can hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.